We see that the fourth officer, who had previously been charged with third-degree murder, we're talking about Derek Chauvin, court records indicate that his charge has now been elevated to second-degree murder. So we can confirm that according to court records here from the state of Minnesota, all four officers, Brooke, that were involved in this incident involving the death of George Floyd have been charged by authorities.
What happened to Floyd happens every day in this country, in education, in health services, and in every area of American life. It's time for us to stand up in George's name and say, get your knee off our necks.
All these people came to see my brother, and that's amazing to me that he touched so many people's hearts. You know, because he's been touching our hearts.
As I think about the thing that I will miss about him most is his hugs.
Do not cooperate with evil. Protest against evil. Join the young people in the streets protesting against the evil, the inhumane, the torture that they witnessed on that video.
I am your president of law and order, and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
As the president prepared to speak in the Rose Garden, our camera spotted Attorney General Bill Barr surveying the scene. Sources tell ABC News the Attorney General then gave the order to remove the protesters using force.
You have to dominate the streets. You can't let what's happening happen. It's called dominate the streets. You can't let that happen in New York, where they're breaking into stores and all of the things. And by the way, hurting many small businesses. You can't let it happen.
You're not doing anything, you bitch! You're not doing anything! What the Hit her! Hit her! Back up!
Now, I want to speak directly to the young men and women of color in this country. I want you to know that you matter. I want you to know that your lives matter, that your dreams matter.
We all saw what happened last week. We can't let that happen. Hopefully George is looking down right now and saying there's a great thing that's happening for our country. There's a great day for him. It's a great day for everybody.
I'm Barry Gordon. This is NewsRap, live at 5, but now we're on at 3, and Andre's internet is down, but he's coming in. All right, folks. Well, Dre is trying to join us, and I think he's going to be on very, very soon. I see things flashing. There he is.
Man, I don't know what happened. I left it open after we did the test. I came back, everything was dark. So sorry I'm late, everybody.
Well, welcome to NewsRap Live at 5, which is not live at 5. It's live at 3, or I think it's live at 3 on Facebook. I don't know where we are right now, but we're doing the show.
I'm the late Andre Coleman.
That's the important thing. Okay. So, oh my. Well, we need a little levity.
Yeah, we do.
This week certainly has not brought that. And an amazing cold open. That's what we call our opening news package, is a cold open. And an amazing one by Hannah and Jared and the folks, and we want to thank
And they always do such great work.
Always. Just incredible work. But this was even, I think, beyond that. I just thought this was so beautifully put together.
Agreed.
Because we're seeing two Americas right now. We're seeing the two Americas that we know exist, and we keep hoping that episodes, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's this horrific incident that happened to George Floyd, this murder that happened to George Floyd. And we keep hoping that at some point, one of these things is going to bring everyone together. That one of these things is going to be so powerful that we're going to say, you know what, we're Americans. That's what we are. Just like, what Obama loved to say, we're not blue, we're not red. And, I'm hearing that a lot from people, and it's simply not true. That with all of these incidences, with the pandemic, with the George Floyd murder, with the reaction to the George Floyd murder, we are seeing, unfortunately, two Americas. I think the good news is that the America that I believe in, and I hope that Dre believes in, and I know he does, and Jared sort of believes, Jared believes in, is bigger. And I think that we are seeing. That we're bigger. I think that the reaction by people like Jim Mattis and John Kelly and even Esper, I think that's telling us that Donald Trump's America is, in a very real sense, not in an ethnic sense, in a real sense, a minority America. And I believe I think that's going to be proven in November. And I think that it's going to be very hard, frankly, for that America. It'll still be around, but I think it's going to be very, very hard for that America to continue to justify itself.
You know what? I agree with you about November, but I am going to say this, and it's not a disagreement with you. It's another way of saying it.
Okay.
You say to America, because I think we are seeing the America, and it's the America that's always been. The issue of race, racism, discrimination, it has always existed in this country. Even now, as people say we have to get back to normal, the president, our leaders across the country, our leaders in Pasadena, they say we have to get back to normal. Well, this is normal. The George Floyd video for many Americans is the norm.
Yeah.
It's the fear that African Americans, black people like me, because I don't identify as African American, I identify as black. It's the fear when they have police contact. And as we talk about this normal, and as we talk about economic recovery, well, black people shouldn't want to go back to that normal. They shouldn't want to go back to a normal in an economy where they can't afford homes and they're priced out of that market. There was a small blip of job recovery, of economic recovery reported today, but unemployment among African Americans is still high and still going up. It even went up a little. So what I think we need to be saying right now is we need a new normal. We need a normal with some policy reform as far as law enforcement, but we also need a normal where we begin to talk about economic inclusion for African Americans in this country, because for far too long, we have a housing market, especially in California, that African Americans cannot afford, a job market where we hear about these job increases and the great, hey, the job market has recovered and the unemployment rate is so low, but what kind of jobs are African Americans getting? And these are things, we can't just talk about police violence. We have to talk about mortgage reform. We have to talk about economic reform. It's a lot, but somebody's got to take it on.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's 100% right. I mean, I think that, I will broaden it. I think we have to talk about economic inequality in general.
Yes.
It's not simply happening with African Americans or blacks or Hispanics, but it is certainly more prevalent, more visible, more damaging, I think, because of the cumulative effect of that inequality over centuries that has got to be dealt with. So it's not dealing with it in other words, you can't just say, I'm going to deal with economic inequality and everyone's going to be fine. You do also have to deal with systemic racism and with systemic inequality specifically toward blacks, because they are the ones who have been here for 3 freaking centuries now and have suffered, or almost 4 centuries. So that has got to be dealt with and recognized. And if it is, but on the other hand, though, then we have what? Hillbilly elegy, right? That's the other side. That's the other side of the coin. And the problem is that in some ways now, they are also suffering from an economic inequality, but they don't understand that we should all be on the same side of that. They don't understand it. And so they're happy to say, or seem happy to say, well, I may not be as well off, but, I still better be better off than black people.
Exactly.
Because I'm entitled to better off than black people. And once you get to that level of and I know those people don't think of themselves as racist. I know they don't. But what they do is they scapegoat a situation that maybe they didn't create, but that certainly our society has created, with our emphasis on extraordinary inequality of wealth. And we've created that. And then they want to say, yeah, but, we're white, so that's cool. And
my biggest,
so give us what we want, but don't give them what they want. And I'm hearing that. I'm seeing it in surveys. I read it every day.
My 2 biggest fears in this is that, one, today Minnesota passes a law that says no more chokeholds. That they will consider that police reform. Not getting to the crux of the matter of, why do you think you can do this to these people?
Right.
That's A. B, the other part of this is, we're seeing a form of systemic racism right now. When you look out at who's marching, you see a lot of young white kids, which, okay, that's great if they believe in this cause, if they're there. But are we now having this serious conversation about race because white people want to have it, or because it's necessary? Black people wanted to have this conversation for years and we didn't have it.
Yeah.
Now suddenly we're having it. And I see every white anchor on TV just talking about how horrible this is, but all they want to interview is celebrities. They want to know what LeBron James thinks. They want to know what Drew Brees thinks.
Exactly. I know. Are you watching Fox, though? You said every white anchor. Are you seeing that?
No, I said every white anchor I see. I'm watching.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't think that they're there. I don't know. I haven't seen Fox, and maybe they are.
Fox isn't going to go to LeBron James, but the hypocrisy of Fox has been made obvious elsewhere, when LeBron James was told to shut up and dribble, and then Drew Brees, after about him, they said, well, he's entitled to an opinion. I mean, what does that say right there? What do we call that? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the crux of the problem right there. The black athlete speaks out on his own experience, and he is told to shut up and dribble the basketball. The white quarterback says, well, I will never support anyone who kneels in front of the flag or during the Star-Spangled Banner. And it becomes, why is everybody getting on him? He has the right to his opinion.
Right.
So,
but the only thing I would say, as the white guy on the show, is it just because of numbers, it's going to have to become a white conversation.
No. Don't get me wrong. I do understand that the civil rights movement itself began to turn when people like Paul Newman and other people began sending money to Dr. King because they saw what was going on in the South. I'm not saying that we don't need that. We do need that to happen, but we just also need to understand why we are progressing the way we are progressing, in my opinion, in part. Is that the whole reason we're having the conversation? Not at all.
I think that's right. But I mean, obviously, at some point, the majority of America, because a lot of people like me, are going to have to realize that there is a problem, that B, everyone, we're responsible for it.
And that's what we want.
And C, we better damn well do something about it. It is time.
Well, and this is how this
for centuries. And we're not.
This will be how this changes. This will be how this changes when this current generation.
That's what I hope.
Gets involved and they raise their kids right. That's the only way it changes. The current generation, my daughter Lauren, other people's kids, they have to raise their kids not to do this. White, black.
And of course,
everybody.
There are so
That's
many,
how it changes.
And there are so many more people who are of mixed race who don't even identify
there you go.
With a particular race.
Yeah.
And, Obama identified black, but, he was mixed race. And there are going to be more and more people who are going to actually be able to sort of, understand that race is a concept that I think at some point you can't make economic decisions based on it ultimately. But what you have to do now is you've got to find a way to make up for 4 centuries of destruction.
Well, I'm going to say this about race. Everybody should be proud. I will say this about race. Everybody should be proud of their particular heritage.
Exactly.
And I have no problem with somebody. A friend of mine said to me the other day, we were talking about this stuff, and this was his response. Well, how would you feel? You guys have the NAACP. You have Black History Month. How would you feel if we had an organization that just looked out for white people? And I told him, it's called the GOP. Been here forever. What are you talking about? Right in front of your face.
Yeah. Well, there's also the Klan, but yeah.
And the Klan. But my point is this.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody should be proud of who they are. And I'm down with that as long as you're not trying to step on somebody else because of who they are.
That's it.
That's the point. Celebrate your heritage. But I can celebrate your heritage and mine without stepping on yours.
I know. It was interesting, and we've got to go to the local, but it was interesting that I did not realize, and I don't know if you heard that George Floyd had been diagnosed, was positive for COVID.
Yeah, I did hear that.
And
I did hear that.
And that now explains to me, to a certain extent, and makes it even more horrific, because he may have been asymptomatic, or it may well have been that, when he said, I can't breathe, he freaking couldn't breathe.
Well, it's obvious he couldn't breathe. He didn't say, I can't breathe, because he said, I need to say something here. It wasn't a line. It was the guy couldn't breathe. But all this stuff of maybe he had a heart attack and.
Well, no, I'm not using it as an.
No, you're not going there.
I'm not going there. And
I know you're not.
And I'm praying that the defense doesn't go there.
Yeah. Well, they will.
The defense attorney is probably going to go there. No, yes. What I'm saying is how horrific, even more horrific maybe than we realized that moment was.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I agree.
If he was already having some problems, already in anguish, and then just compounding that, to me, it was just horrifying. So it's just...
You ready to check out some local?
Yeah, let's do local.
Let's do it.
Here's our local news brief for Friday, June 5th, 2020. The city of Pasadena reports 968 confirmed coronavirus cases with 83 related deaths. Although Pasadena has released protocols for hair salons, dine-in restaurants, and retailers to reopen, businesses have been instructed to close early to abide by county-wide curfews put in place last week due to looting trends in other areas. On Thursday, June 4th, Sheriff Alex Villanueva announced that the county will no longer enforce a curfew. On Friday, May 29th, the state of California permitted Los Angeles County to reopen dine-in restaurants, hair salons, and barbershops, contingent on guidelines. Some of the guidelines include mandatory face coverings, social distancing, and cleaning practices. Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger hopes to soon reach Stage 3, which will permit higher-risk businesses like movie theaters to reopen by June 12th. The Los Angeles courts plan to reopen clerk's office operations by June 15th, and hearings are expected to start gradually on June 22nd. Several protests have taken place in front of Pasadena City Hall. The protests taking place around the nation are over the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. A park-in was organized by the Pasadena branch of the NAACP, the National Association of Day Laborers, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, and the Community Clergy Coalition. An estimated 1,000 cars were ushered into Centennial Square by Pasadena police. There were an estimated 3,500 attendees. In a Pasadena Now article, Pasadena Vice Mayor Tyrone Hampton is quoted as saying, "There's a buildup of frustration with the lack of action. That's why people are organizing and they're protesting. Time after time, African American men, African American women, African Americans in general are being mistreated in this country and they're fed up." Hampton attended the park-in with several members of the council, as well as Mayor Terry Tornick. Pasadena Now reports few arrests and no injuries in relation to the protests. Despite the safer at-home orders beginning to ease, health experts are concerned about an increase in cases to come due to recent protests, rallies, and vigils held for George Floyd. Los Angeles County Health Director Barbara Ferrer warned that these gatherings risk becoming super spreader events. In a press release on Monday, June 1st, Ferrer emphasized that anyone participating should continue to wear face coverings and practice physical distancing of 6 feet.
So, Dre, what is Pasadena going to do? How are we going to react? Do we have anything in the pipeline? Does the city council have anything in the pipeline right now?
Well, public safety was supposed to discuss yesterday a civilian oversight commission or committee for the police department. That meeting was canceled. There was a Black Lives Matters event at the police station. The police chief couldn't be there, so they just thought, kind of out of an abundance of caution, to cancel the meeting. But there's more of an appetite right now amongst our local politicians for civilian oversight than there's ever been. It's not to say it's going to pass, and then you still have to get around to what's that going to look like, and it will require charter reform. So it's not an easy process to get there. Let's put it like that. They would, even if they say, yes, we're all open to discussion, it then becomes, okay, how do we do it? Who runs it? Who does this? If there's an independent, an inspector general, who does that person answer to? That kind of thing. So there's a lot of steps to be taken, but the city is having the discussions.
I think I think we are so overdue for that discussion and that action. And across the country, by the way, that was the first thing that Cuomo mentioned, was the very first thing was police cannot police themselves. Well, and you can't have the government either, the local government, police the police. It's got to be an independent body, got to be an oversight body.
You'll get this reference. It always comes back to who watches the watchman.
Right.
So we are there again, and hopefully this time we do the right thing. Now, I'm going to say this. That oversight will not stop the next George Floyd type incident from happening.
No.
But it will provide for more transparency when it does. And hopefully people will not feel as desperate and as hopeless out of the next situation. There will be another situation. There will be another situation at stake. There will be another situation that riles the public up. But look, if we start arresting police officers right after these incidents, like you or I would be arrested if we were on tape doing this, then my column last week in Pasadena Now was about cities really have to learn to start listening before the buildings are on fire. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that a lot of municipalities, they don't listen until people are in the street with Molotov cocktails. Then everybody says, let's talk. Well, by then, the fuse is lit. It's really hard to stop people once the anger gets to that level.
Do you think we have the right police chief right now?
Oh, we have the perfect police chief.
Great.
Look, Pasadena has had no incidents of violence. There was a brick or something thrown through the window at the pawn shop on Colorado. They tried to loot a liquor store but we don't have people going through old Pasadena, breaking running out with big screen TVs and that kind of stuff. John Perez is a reformer. He's a 30-year guy. He's worked on one police force, and that's Pasadena. Yeah. That's the guy you need when stuff like this is going on. And our use of force incidents are less than 1%. Does racial profiling still exist? Yes. Do other issues still exist? Of course. But and if I'm correct, Pasadena is already even banned moves to the neck, which Minnesota just did today. So, we're ahead of the curve. And in a lot of this, we're ahead of the curve. Does that mean we can be more transparent? Well, you can always be more transparent. Of course.
Is he open to a civilian oversight commission?
I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him because I haven't talked to him about the topic. But he already has. He reinstituted the advisory board, police chief's advisory board. And what a lot of people don't know that's happened is that probably 5 times now there have been claims of brutality where they've called local reporters to the police station and said, these are the tapes, we'll answer any of your questions. And we all sit there and watch them together. The Weekly, Pasadena Now, Pasadena Star News, James Farr's been there once, and we all get our questions answered. And remember, the Chris Ballou tapes, the city manager decided to release those tapes on his own. And it didn't calm the situation down, but he released the tapes on his own. So it wasn't a thing of where people said, hey, release the tapes or we're going to sue you. He made the call to release them in the interest of transparency.
That's, there is no good news this week, but that's as close to good news as we can get.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that it's good to know that we live in a place that cares.
But that's not to say something won't happen tomorrow with looting or something like that. Let's just knock on wood and hope it doesn't.
Let's hope it doesn't. That's it for us. I'm glad you made it, Dre. But that's it for us. We'll be with you next week. I don't know if it's going to be 3 or 5, probably 5, because I think we're on 3 because of a possible curfew, but I don't think there's going to be a curfew.
I think that's over.
Yeah. So you can watch this on YouTube later or on Facebook later or some other place. And it was good to be with you. I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm the late Andre Coleman.
And this has been NewsRap, live at 5 at 3, home edition.
Have a good weekend, everybody.